go over bridges. Then there's a water play area.
All right, folks. So doing this video, which is going to be fairly quick, it's going to talk about our plans for our garden. Let me get this out of the way. It's kind of okay. That's better. Sorry.
And then there's
Anyhow, this video is going to talk about what we're going to hope to do for next year. You know, Noelle did a video talking about her desire to have a food forest. Now, and of course, this is on our Patreon, so you have to actually be a member to see it. But it's kind of funny. I mean, it's cute. But what happened was, I got on YouTube and I got into this whole thing. So, you know, you go down that rabbit hole, you watch a video, but it's kind of video, then the next, and you're not intending on watching it, but somehow it suggested the video, so you watch it. Well, there was this individual that does food forest, and so I saw that and I thought she should see it. Well, after seeing like the first 2 minutes, she was just like, her mouth was open, she was excited about it. But I have to keep telling her that we don't have the land to do that, right? Like, yeah, we could, but at the same time, we have a lot of stuff that would get in the way. Sure, you could possibly do it in certain areas that we have, but the scale that Noelle wants, not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I did a video, and I don't know if I've actually uploaded it yet, but it will be soon, about what our future plans are within the next 5 years. Now, Noelle would like for that to happen tomorrow, but I'm like, it depends. I'm on the fence, right? Part of me wants to, within the next 5 years, sell this property and then go find some land out in the country, and it would be a lot of land, a lot. So we're talking 15 acres. I mean, I am a very private person, so the more distance and space I can get from my neighbor would be the best for me. I didn't realize I was that private of a person until I got older. You know, but either I have to be right in the middle of it all, and if it's just Noelle and I, that's cool. So living right in the middle of downtown Tacoma or Seattle, that's fine. If it was Noelle and I, perfect. But since it's us and the kids, I'd rather have so much distance that people would not even know where their next door neighbor is. That's just personal. And it's something that I'm used to. I spent most of my life growing up that way, actually. You know, my mom has a farm. So, you know, I'm kind of used to that. Well, Noelle would actually, and I told her, I said 15 acres. And that's some serious land. Like, you can't really farm all of that. I mean, you could. But she wouldn't be able to do that. But anyhow, that's kind of what the idea is. In the future, we may end up selling this and buying someplace else now, and that means we would sell our home in New Mexico and all of that. But it depends. It depends. If Tacoma, and that's why I'm giving it 5 years. If Tacoma develops very, very fast, and there's a lot of things down the road that looks really highly desirable to the point of where you don't want to sell because you don't want to be away from the fun and the excitement of the city, then that may change things. But today, if today was 5 years from now, I'd be like, all right, let's sell. Why 5 years? Because I'm holding out for more money. This is going to be real. Holding out for more money, and as the values go up, if it hits a certain point, like if it hit that point tomorrow, a certain point, I'd be like, all right, cool, I'm good. But I probably think that within the next 5 years, it will hit that point. And then at that point, I'd be like, all right, let's go. Let's go. It would be cool. Before I get too much farther in this video, I want to thank the folks that are on our Patreon. We really do appreciate that. You don't realize how important it is to us. One, only because it's not the money, because it's a small amount, but it's basically just folks saying that we believe in you. And that is really, really cool, and that we care about, that you care about us, which is really cool, because again, getting better equipment is just by far better. Our videos are limited in size because of the simple fact that we have to rely on phones, and they're limited on quality because of the phones as well, as you know. But with that said, we already have another patron. Travis PNW is what they go by. Really do appreciate it. Some of the previous folks, River Mutsu was our first. We have author Janavir. We have Sean Knapp. And now we have Travis PNW. So Travis, your name will show up here. Really do appreciate that. You guys don't understand what you're doing. It really motivates us. It makes us want to do much more in terms of videos. There's several podcasts that are actually lined up, and they're being processed. Right now I'm processing a podcast that will be going up, which is pretty interesting. And it talks about what Washington is famous for, similar to what Colorado is famous for, and pretty much where that tax money should go, in my opinion. But anyway, back to this. So yeah, the idea of having a food forest, it sounds great, but given our limited amount of land and at least having the kids the ability to play, I just don't really see that happening. I think some of the techniques, yeah, that they were doing, I think that's pretty interesting and it taught us a lot. But I think that given our limited space, we just can't really do everything that we really want to do. Some folks were asking, do we have any sort of winter crops? We said no, but I think probably next weekend we're going to be spending some time outside and doing some of the things that this guy had, some of these individuals were saying, and possibly going forward doing that. Noelle would like it to be where she could just retire and literally just have a homestead. It's possible, but again, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of dedication, and yeah, what I'm hoping for, and people have asked, like if we were to sell one day and move in this hypothetical situation, it would still be in Washington State. I mean, let's just be real, it's going to be in Washington State. It would be close to either Seattle or Tacoma. I mean, I'm not going to move so far off to the west to where it's basically the shore. Properties are fairly cheap there compared to here, but there's nothing to do. And going to the beach would be kind of boring all the time. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing happening over there except for the beach. So it'd be close enough to where we could get to either Seattle or Tacoma. I mean, a special trip or whatever. And there's places not far away where you can get land like that. 15 acres, 20 acres, whatever, 75 acres. There's places that are relatively close where you can actually get land that size. But what we're looking at is, and the way I look at it too is,
sorry folks, we're testing out
the kids to be able to discover,
24/7 feed. So
find little creeks. There's a lot of places here where you see streams and waterways, and some of the properties that are for sale have that. So I think it'd be great for the kids to be able to explore, have their own actual forest. And then Noelle will have enough land to where she can grow whatever she wants. Right now she's limited because she wants to grow a lot of things we just can't grow. You know, that's why with our neighbor, they have a bigger piece of land. And so she was growing pumpkins on it and stuff like that. We could do that here, but she was concerned it would just vine too much. But there's an area that would be perfect for that. So yeah, I see her passion, and in the video it's kind of funny because she's like, I gotta go do a video right now and I'm gonna put it on Patreon. I said, that's cool. And so we had literally watched hours of YouTube videos on it. If I told you how many hours of YouTube I watch a day, you guys would be shocked. In the middle of working and everything else, I have YouTube playing. So a lot of times I hear stuff and I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I'll look up and watch. But if you know how much I watch YouTube on a given day, it's more than what I watch in terms of TV or anything else, by far. But anyhow, hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday here. It's a little bit sprinkly this time of year. Weather's kind of, gets a little cold, it gets drizzly, and this is what people know this area about is in terms of rain. So this time of year it happens. Tomorrow we meet up with some of our friends. They used to be subscribers, I guess they still are, I don't know, but we consider them friends now. So we meet up with them tomorrow. That should be interesting. We're gonna have some Korean barbecue, so Noelle's definitely looking forward to that. I'm still a little sick, but when food's involved, I can get over it. So anyhow, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Until next time, I will see you. Take care. she mentioned her husband by name. I don't like his side of the family, and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And so she's like, and it's not because you're black either. That was the comment that she said directly on the phone to me. Now,
Hey, Noe, can you hear me now at all?
so I wanted to do a video that talked about how I handled or adapted to having racist or bigoted in-laws. For those of you who don't know, my wife is Korean, and she was adopted at a very young age. She was about 16 months old and when she was adopted from South Korea, and the family that adopted her was white. They have four children, 2 boys, 2 girls, all of which are older than my wife. The youngest boy, the youngest brother, I guess, is basically just a month older than I am. When I first started dating Noelle, it was important to her, as it would be anyone, that I met her family. And I was really excited about it because I knew our relationship was very, very serious, and I wanted to start off on a really good foot with them. So I had met with her mother and father, and I was a bit nervous, like everyone would be, you know. So I didn't really know what to expect. So I wanted to, and I asked my wife, you know, what would be something that, a gift I can bring to your mother, you know, just as kind of like, hey, you know, this is me, and, you know, I brought you a gift type of thing. And she's like, I don't know, just whatever you think would work for you. You know, so I decided to plant. I know my mother likes flowers, and so I decided to bring a potted plant, a hanging basket that would work great in their home. So I brought that, and when I met her parents for the first time, it seemed like everything was okay. We sat down, talked to them. You know, I gave her mother the potted plant. She seemed to be very receptive to that, and everything seemed fine. I didn't feel weird at all. It didn't seem like they had any issues with me. And we stayed for maybe, I don't know, an hour or so, and then we left. So to me, I felt like, okay, you know, I got this extremely difficult part out of the way. Meeting someone's parents for the first time is always nerve-wracking, and, you know, so I felt like I passed the test, so to speak. So her family at the time, and I don't know because I haven't really spoke to them in numerous years, but her family was big about gatherings. They pretty much gathered at her sister's home, you know, almost every weekend, or at least every other weekend. And it was just time for the family to get together. So Noelle was a big part of those. Noelle, my wife, was a big part of those. Prior to me, she would go all the time, and it was just a regular thing. So she asked me if I wanted to go, and I was a bit nervous because that would be meeting all of her family. So that would be meeting her older sisters who were married. One has 3 kids, the other one didn't. That would be meeting her 2 brothers. And so I was a little bit nervous because obviously having all those people there that you don't know, and I'm someone I'm very introverted. I'm not really outgoing or anything like that, but I definitely will talk to people, and, you know, I feel like I'm easily approachable. Once I get to know you, then, you know, I talk your head off, and I'm just a very chill type of person. But I felt like, okay, you know, this will be interesting, so why not? So I went to we went there, and I came in, and it just seemed like the entire house was just very cold. It was a weird feeling, and you know, I'm always someone who smiles, and I'm from the South, so I have a little bit of Southern hospitality. I always smile, and, You know, always try to look a person in the eye when I talk to them and just be very much, you know, just be nice, just to be me. It was just really, really weird. The vibe from her brothers were not married at the time. Both of her sisters were married, and their spouses were very nice. I didn't have a problem with them whatsoever. They were very, very nice, and they were just okay. There was no issue. The eldest sister was great. I mean, she was okay. You know, it wasn't really much that I felt was really wrong. The other sister, which is a little bit younger than the eldest one, was just very cold, it seemed. Just very kind of didn't really want me to be there. I mean, I guess the best way to explain it would be if you knocked on someone's door and you were going to sell them magazines. You know, it seemed like I was more of a nuisance being there than not. Didn't really want to make eye contact with me, kind of talked at me in a way, but not really to me. Definitely avoided a lot of contact. It was just very cold. And then when it came to the eldest brother, he was nice. He is, and still, very nice, great guy, didn't have a problem with him. Her other brother, who is basically just a month older than I am, was the rudest of all. To me, he was just very condescending. He talked down to really, it seemed like everyone there. But of course, you know, I don't know anyone's family dynamics. I mean, what I may consider to be somewhat rude or inappropriate, obviously they may not, but to me it just seemed kind of weird. And he obviously never made any sort of eye contact, never made any attempts to talk to me, and really the entire family never even asked me one question the whole time I was there. They mainly acted as if I didn't exist. There was never a question, and I've yet to get this question, like, what do you do for a living? You know, where is your family from? You know, how many brothers and sisters do you have? I have no brothers, actually, you know, but that was never a question that was asked. You know, how long did I live in Indianapolis? You know, the company that I work for, how long have you been there? You know, did you go to college? If so, what degree did you graduate out of? You know, I have 2 degrees, but they don't know that. So there was never a question as to who I was. It was just kind of like I was a pair of pants in a room, you know, full of people. It just didn't seem like no one really felt the need or want to even get to know me or talk to me. So at that point in time, I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, her parents were there, and still kind of the same thing. It was kind of like everyone had this general distance. And I felt like, okay, you know, this is the first time I'm meeting all of her family. That can definitely be understandable. You know, a lot of times people, especially with families, it's difficult to get into some families. You have to kind of earn your way in, and I completely understand that. So then it was after the second, third, and fourth times of going to these family gatherings and being treated the same way, I kind of felt like, you know what, what's the point of going to these if, you know, you try to put yourself into a position to talk to people and you're ignored, or, you know, people just don't want to talk to you. The brother that is closer in age to me literally acted as if he was in middle school, and yet he was in his 30s. But he acted like he was in middle school. He just, to him, it was kind of like, why are you there? Now, whether he has self-esteem issues or problems or issues, I don't know. But it just seemed like he was very deflective in terms of everything. And he was nurtured more. I mean, just speaking to some of the people there that did talk to me, he just seemed like he was the golden child, you know, and so everything was kind of like, you know, if you did something, not a problem. And that later came out, you know. So I didn't really know what to think. So her family also would send emails back and forth about, you know, plans that they had in terms of if they were taking a vacation or if they wanted to do something fun, or if someone's birthday was coming up, you know, what are some ideas and things like that. So they would kind of communicate back and forth through emails and things of that nature. And one of the emails was just in reference to me, and it was negative. I mean, Noelle shared it with me. And it was pretty much negative, and it was coming from her sisters. And it was just basically asking about me as a person. Not only did her sisters feel this way, but also her younger brother felt this way. Probably, I would say all of them to some degree, because later on in other emails that I've seen, and even phone calls that I've heard, because she had them on speaker or they were talking loud enough to where if I was sitting next to Noelle, which I was, I could hear it. But they were basically saying that, you know, it was a rush situation. You know, how do you know that you love him? You know, they were comparing me to her ex many times. Even though they didn't know me, they were just comparing me to him. I never met her ex, never talked to her ex, never even really seen him, never saw him in person. But they were just comparing me to him because they didn't like him. And so her ex was a white guy, and I think that, you know, with that, I don't think that was the issue. I think with them, he just basically, he didn't treat Noelle the best. He treated her badly, poorly. And, you know, when I first dated Noelle, that was stuff that we had to actually work through with. You know, I felt like, you know, to me, Noelle was the person I wanted to be with. And I know everyone has their skeletons in their closet and baggage, but I felt like, you know, hey, let's work through this problem together. So, you know, we had conquered that issue of her ex and things that happened and all of that. But the biggest thing that held our relationship back at kind of the beginning was not only her ex and the issues that she had, but also her family. Because she had dealt with a lot of stuff, and stuff that I'll let her talk about, but if she feels comfortable in talking about it. But just stuff that she had to deal with in terms of her family. Just numerous issues, numerous problems, things like that. And so I had noticed every time that we would go to one of these family meetings, functions, that her personality was way different. Her personality was not the same as when she was around me or when she was around her closest friends. When she was around myself and her closest friends, excuse me, she was just very much like she is now. I mean, very normal. When she was around her family, she was very bubbly and cheerful and just super happy, and there was never a problem. She literally, as soon as she walked into the door, it was just like a light went on and she was a completely different person. And I called her out on it. And I'm like, you know, like, I don't understand why you're such a different person in front of your family. And so that was a topic she never really discussed with me until later. And so then she's like, you know, I don't want to get into an issue with my family because it's kind of like a gang. You know, you have all of them against me. You know, it's like they will band together and basically point the finger back at me. So I'm like, okay. And it was somewhat true because in one of the conversations that they had on the phone, her sisters were saying, you know, it seems like, you know, you don't want to really come around us anymore. You know, you're spending way too much time with him. Now, mind you, you know, at the time, Noelle was in her late 20s. You know, I mean, she wasn't living with anyone. She had her own place. But they just felt like, you know, hey, why are you spending, you know, more time with him than you are with us? And this type of thing. And, you know, it really says something. Her eldest brother even said, well, it really says something if he doesn't want you around your family. Meanwhile, I'm pushing her to go visit her family. I just didn't want to go, you know. I was like, hey, if you want to go and spend, you know, a Saturday evening there, I don't want to break up the routine, do what you got to do. I just don't want to be there, you know. I don't want to be in a place where I don't feel welcomed or, I just don't want to be in a situation that is just very awkward. And it was extremely awkward. It felt very hostile, and it just wasn't something I wanted to be a part of. I'd already showed them who I was. I thought I would give them a chance to get to know me, but they didn't want to take that opportunity. So I just basically felt like I didn't want to be there. Well, then she didn't want to go because I wasn't there. And so I don't know if she felt like if I wasn't there, they would ask questions as to, well, why are you here and he's not here? And I don't know if she felt like there would just be more questions or not. Or she just really wanted me and needed me there. I don't know. But I didn't want to go. So finally, I wanted to meet up with her eldest brother. He seemed to be the coolest, nicest one. And we met up and we, had coffee, I believe, and, just started talking. And I told him where I was coming from, how I felt. And I was saying, just like anyone, her mother got to choose his mother got to choose who she wanted to love. There was not someone there trying to be a puppet. And, her eldest sister, her other sister, got to choose who they wanted to be with. So who are they to tell her who she can and can't be with? What business of theirs is it? She's a grown woman. I can understand if she was a teenager, but this is a grown woman. So who are you to basically step in and basically say, hey, you know what, spend 5 minutes with him a week and that's cool. It just didn't make sense to me. So I talked to him and he was just really cool, and he's a very open-minded person and that type of thing. And so we kind of ironed out issues that he may have had only because of things that his family kind of thought. He's always a little bit different than his family. Kind of, is just logical, basically. Very logical. So, I was cool with that. And so then I had offered to meet with her the brother that's the youngest brother. And he refused. He said no, because, you have to pass the test. If you want to meet with me, then be with her for a few years, then give me a call. That was his exact wording. And I said, I'm wanting to get to know you because, at that time I knew that all the things that Noelle and I had went through, talked about, she had my back, I had her back. She just seemed like a really wonderful person. I felt like this relationship was going to get really serious. So I wanted to get to know everyone. And it was just, he was not really interested at all. He's like, I'm not interested. I don't want to go. And, I don't know who you are. Who's to say you're going to be here next week type of thing. So I'm like, okay, fine. So like I said, I went and had the coffee meeting with the eldest brother, and it was great. So then he got upset with me because I went and met with him and I didn't meet with him. And I'm like, I gave you that opportunity. I'm not going to beg you, and I felt like her family wanted me to beg them to talk to them, or, if they're talking, I should run up to them and try to get into the conversation and, keep trying to win affection. And that's just not who I am. I'm the person I need to impress and win affection by is Noelle. It wasn't her family. I gave them that opportunity numerous times. So after the constant turmoil, I finally, and this was several months, I finally told Noelle, hey, you know what? I'm going to talk to your family. I'm going to call them one-on-one and just talk to them and tell them kind of where I'm coming from. The general conversation that I had with every one of them was, hey, look, you may feel that, our relationship was moving faster than what you may have anticipated or thought. We had, and, if you look back at our video that talks about, that we did with Lily, our interview, yeah, we did kind of move kind of quickly, but at that same time, we knew what we wanted. I mean, we're still together. So, and we have 2 kids, and we just knew that it was just right. So I felt like it was time for me to just talk to them. And maybe if I had the opportunity to get to talk to them and they get to know me without having their other siblings as an influence, maybe that could move something. So basically did deductive logic. I said, I'm going to talk to the easiest one first, and then the difficult ones last. So I literally want to talk to her eldest brother first, her eldest sister next. Then I wanted to talk to the next sister, and then the younger brother, and then her family, because I felt like that was literally in order the most difficult from least to horrible. And that's bad to say, but it just is. And you have to see all the conversations. And keep in mind, I never delete emails. It doesn't matter. I've learned just in my professional career to never delete an email. I never delete emails when it refers to personal life, professional life, what have you. I have emails that go back 10 years. So I've always done that. Unless it's junk mail, I'll get rid of that. But any sort of communication with someone I know, I never delete an email. So, and Noelle had forwarded me a lot of the emails that were sent that were pretty harsh, that was said about me. So I knew this, you know, I knew it, and I still have those emails. But talking to her eldest brother was easy. You know, it was kind of clear cut. Didn't last very long at all. Talking to her eldest sister didn't really last that long either. You know, she thanked me just like her eldest brother thanked me for talking to them, and I felt like I achieved something, you know. Then talking to her younger sister, which is actually older. Keep in mind, Noelle's the youngest, right? Talking to the other sister who's more difficult, you know, it was this back and forth type of thing. But she seemed to be, her thing was just defensive. You know, no, I felt like I've given you plenty of opportunity to get to know us. And no, I feel like I've been very cooperative and trying to provide an opportunity for everyone to get to know you. And it was that type of thing. And I had mentioned to Noelle before, and this stands out, that, you know, that sister kind of talks at me but not to me, so she never makes eye contact. And she was like, I'm sorry that I don't necessarily make eye contact with you and this type of thing. I didn't know that was a requirement. And I'm like, you know, it's kind of a respect type of thing, you know, like just in general, this is someone who has worked before, and if you go and do a job interview, if you never look at the person that you're talking to, the interviewer, then you're probably not going to get the job. I mean, if you have very poor communication skills, then good luck on trying to get a job. So I knew that she's educated enough to know, and I didn't see her act that way to anyone else. You know, I saw her out with a friend, you know, Noelle and I saw her out with a friend, you know, at a restaurant. And when the waiter came by, she was talking to them nice and giving them eye contact and that type of thing. So I knew it was just a bunch of BS. And, but still, you know, she thanked me for talking to her and that type of thing. So again, I thought I made some progress. Talked to the youngest brother, and, you know, again, it reminded me of the high school bully, you know, the guy that was trying to be a bully, but just didn't do so well at it. You know, he tried to basically bring up the issue of me not inviting him out again to, talk like I did with her, you know, his older brother. And, you know, that, you know, I should be a little bit more willing to step up more and talk to them more and really buy for their attention and just kind of, you know, just pretty much kiss their ass. And I don't do that. So I don't do that personally, and I don't do that professionally. I don't do that in any sort of circumstance. And that's hurt me in terms of jobs, maybe, in terms of moving up faster. But I just feel like, you know, you work hard, you do your best. And I felt like in personal relationships, you work hard at it, you do your best. And I felt like I've tried to do that. And so then still, you know, he thanked me for talking to him. Everyone thanked me for talking to them except for the parents. So I thought, okay, that was kind of rocky and rough. I expected it to be, but maybe I made some sort of a headway. The family. I speak to the mother. The mother's someone who doesn't want to, if it's confrontational or she feels like you're going to accuse her of something, or if you're going to talk about something difficult, she doesn't want to talk about it. She will say, I'm not talking about this right now. She'll hang up every single time. And I can understand now some of the issues that Noelle has had and her apprehension to even talk to them about how they were just treating us. I mean, it got to a point where they started to treat both of us pretty negatively when we were going to these family gatherings. So I started talking to the mom, and just instantly she was like, you know, I don't know what you're referring to. At the time, I had an uncle that had passed away. One of my uncles that I just truly, truly love, and she had mentioned. I remember when that happened, she never